Hey guys, Paul Morrow here again for robsdesk.org doing a big news recap for Tuesday, 2 September. Here we go. Summer's over. Back to work. So, hope you caught us on the 5 today. It was a lot of fun. But a story broke just as we were going to air that we didn't get a chance to cover. And that was the fact that our military, the U.S. Navy apparently, dropped a drone on a narco boat in Caribbean waters off the coast of Venezuela. Now, if you've been listening to the Ops Desk and tuning in at all, I told you this was coming. If you read deep into the right areas and listen to people talk, and, I got a couple of sources, you hear that there are motives and objectives, I should say, better word, objectives of the Trump administration that you're going to start to see come to fruition. And one of them almost certainly is the fact that we are getting a Trump doctrine for our hemisphere. And I call it the Trump doctrine, even though nobody else is quite yet, because to me it feels like a continuation of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine put in place in 1823, I want to say it was. President Monroe at the time, we had some stature after the War of 1812. The Europeans knew we were a force to reckon with. And we told the Europeans essentially, stay out of our area of the hemisphere, don't mess around over here, and we won't mess around in Europe. And it more or less held for a very long time, arguably maybe to this day, you could actually say, because it's not European powers that are causing the problems here. And that's where I'm going with this. There's a lot more afoot here than initially meets the eye, all right? Sure, Donald Trump wants to stop the flow of narcotics coming into this country. And by designating the cartels as terrorist organizations, which he has done, it gives him the extraterritoriality to be able to operate against them militarily, much like we dropped drones on al-Qaeda offshoots in Yemen. We droned U.S. citizens on Warlaki and his son 2 weeks later. We killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, all right? It gives you the legal basis to take these actions. Now, I was asked a question, well, what about this designation of these narco groups as terrorists? Is that legitimate? And that's a sharp question. Dana Perino asked me off the air, and she's not wrong. Okay, she's going right to where the rubber hits the road, because actually, if somebody would have challenged that designation, they have a shot. Why do I say that? Because terrorism and terrorist groups are very specifically defined under federal law. You have to be doing illegal stuff, generally violent stuff, in order to influence the population or the military or the actions of a government. It's kind of like violence plus influencing a population. Think of it that way. And it has to be an element, the terrorists have to be elements of a foreign power. Now, the point is that what they're doing to influence opinions. It's ideological, right? So al-Qaeda, yeah, they're doing it for this Islamist cause. Fair enough. But narco groups, they're operating off the profit motive. And it's not clear to me they have an ideological purpose. I don't know that you can really articulate that the Cartel del Sol is trying to influence the opinion of the American population. The rub, of course, and the Trump administration knows this, is that who's going to complain? Because the narcotics groups would have to come to court and say, no, we're not terrorists, we're just drug lords. Good luck with that. And they're not going to do it. And that's why you haven't heard any of the pushback, at least so far. Anyway, beneath the surface, there's a lot going on here. The Trump doctrine, I believe, has a much larger footprint here, much larger objectives than just trying to stop narcotics coming into the country. I think that what he'd like to see is, Donald Trump would like to see, very much like in Iran, he'd like to see regime change that we don't have to do. Regime change from inside that would be beneficial for the nation involved and for the whole area. Venezuela is very oil rich, and yet the people are slaughtering the zoo animals in order to live. Donald Trump, I believe, also thinks that he's the guy that can flip Cuba. Cuba has been a mess since the Castro people came to power back in the 50s. It's never really gotten off the ground. And what Donald Trump, underneath it all, is really hoping to do is to keep China's influence in our neighborhood down to a minimum, or maybe get it out, because they've been a bad actor here. Russia too, but more China. And they've been hoofed by jowl with Venezuela and, of course, the Mexican cartels, bringing narco into our country and making all kinds of money. The Trump doctrine, it is underway. And you're going to see a lot of movements south of our border. I'm Paul Morrow for the Ops Desk.